What's going on, guys? My name is Nate. This is Nate and Friends, and today I'm going to do another video like I did yesterday. We're going to do a video today of, I guess it's similar and kind of makes sense to like the coronavirus and what is going on. So it's just a video of like, what if there was a pandemic in the US or in the world, I guess, and how it would affect and how it would spread and how people need to know how to wash their hands and cough into their shirts or into their, you know, the crease of the thing like that. Like people need to be doing these things. Like this is normal stuff and they need to be teaching their kids this stuff too. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this video. It's about 7 minutes long. And then when the video's done, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about kind of what the video played and we'll go from there. So without further ado, here's the video, guys.
It starts with a simple cough. And before you know it, millions of people are infected. And it won't stop there. It could keep growing and growing until billions of people are sick. Flights are canceled, cities are quarantined, and hospitals are flooded with patients. This is what's known as a global pandemic. Could we experience something like this? How would a pandemic affect civilization? How does something like this happen? And how could you avoid it? This is What If, and here's what would happen if we had a worldwide pandemic. A worldwide pandemic like this wouldn't be new to the human race. It happened in 1918 and was known as the Spanish flu. It infected about 1/3 of the global population and killed an estimated 50 million people. So, before we start completely freaking out about the end of the world, you can take a bit of comfort in knowing this most likely doesn't mean the end of civilization. But that doesn't mean there won't be consequences. Before we get to what might happen, how does a pandemic start anyway? Well, widely spread epidemics in the past, like the Spanish flu, as well as SARS in 2003, began with a strain of influenza, or the flu. Now, there are two main types of influenza. Type A, which typically comes from animals, including birds, cats, pigs, and horses, and Type B viruses, which are only common among humans. The symptoms of a virus like this are things we've all experienced: runny nose, fever, headache, and just general cold symptoms. But in other cases, influenza can also result in respiratory issues, kidney failure, or even death. But keep in mind, those aren't guaranteed to happen. A disease like this could infect over 2.5 billion people. Why so many? Well, the main thing about these influenza strains is that they can be carried through the air. If someone has it and breathes in your direction, you could breathe in microscopic water droplets carrying the virus. Or if you touch a surface that has the virus on it and then touch your face, you could also catch the disease. You might not even feel the symptoms of influenza right away. It could take a few hours or even up to 2 weeks. This means you could be interacting with people as usual and unknowingly be infecting them. And today, the world is a lot different than it was during 1918's Spanish flu. In addition to the world's population being much higher, we also live very differently. Cities are more dense, with places like Mumbai having over 76,000 people per square mile. With people living closer together, it means we can infect each other more easily. Not only that, but we travel the world with ease now. People who unknowingly carry a virus can quickly bring it to the other side of the world. If this new virus were to spread to just a single person, who spread it to another single person, and another, and another, as time went on, it would eventually infect millions. As people got infected, planes would be grounded and entire countries could be quarantined. If it got bad enough, we might not even be able to leave our homes due to the risk of infecting people or getting infected ourselves. Getting help at a hospital could be difficult too. With billions of people infected, it's unlikely hospitals would be able to care for everyone. If we're dealing with a pandemic that spreads the same way as the Spanish flu did, we could anticipate anywhere between 200 to 425 million deaths. And that's out of the approximately 2.5 billion people who would be infected. But how likely is it that a scenario like this will happen? Well, it's hard to say. Experts say that humanity is due for a massive pandemic. It happened 100 years ago with the Spanish flu, and before that, with the bubonic plague in 1347. Unfortunately, pandemics like these are just a reality of human civilization. But that doesn't mean a pandemic today would be as bad as the Spanish flu. Although the disease might spread more efficiently than ever before, it also might be easier than ever to cure it. Although a pandemic implies that you'll have little immunity to it, doctors could develop a vaccine for it. Today, with increased technology and communication being more seamless than ever, the world's scientists could work together. You could have doctors in New York talking with researchers in China trying to solve a pandemic. It definitely wouldn't be easy and could take up to a year, but eventually a vaccine could be invented. The next issue would be how it gets distributed. If countries aren't willing to work together and distribute the vaccines fairly, it could cause some serious conflict. But assuming they all do work together, it could eventually stop the pandemic. Hopefully, something like this won't happen in the first place. After all, we're now better at monitoring animals and their diseases than ever before. And by knowing the consequences of a real pandemic, hopefully we can stop the spread of infections before they go any further. So, how can you avoid something like this? Well, according to health experts, the rules are pretty simple. Similar to avoiding the common cold, you should wash your hands a lot and keep away from people coughing and sneezing. And if you're feeling sick, you should definitely see a doctor right away. Also, would you please cough or sneeze into a tissue or an elbow? So, although everybody doesn't have to die in this scenario, it would have a severe impact on people. And if the world isn't willing to work and cooperate together, the realities of a new pandemic could be pretty grim. Want to know something that isn't so grim? How about traveling to Mars? Well, we'll leave that story for another What If.
Have it. There you have it with the video. You know what I mean about the pandemic? I mean, what's pretty crazy about it is it's crazy. It's got a lot of signs like the coronavirus has. You know, when you talk about, quarantining a city and stuff, I mean, that's what's happening right now. I think it's in Wuhan, which is in China. So like the city's quarantined and shit. So I mean, it's pretty crazy how the video is pretty accurate. I mean, it's a pretty accurate video based on what's actually taking place. So it's weird, man. It's weird. I didn't make the video. I have no credit of making the video. It's something that I pulled off the internet. But it's interesting because when you watch the video and you see or you just listen to the video and you listen to it and you're like, man, you start thinking about actually what's happening today in 2020 about this virus, but I think there's a lot more to this virus. I think there's a lot more to this virus than just it's something that spread, in this food market in Wuhan. I feel bad for these people in Wuhan because they're stuck. I mean, they're just there. They're stuck in their homes. There's the food markets don't got a lot of food going on. It's crazy. It's crazy what's happening over there. But yeah, I mean, that's a crazy video. It's real. It's a weird video because it's you're watching a video, but at the same time, you're kind of watching it unfold in real life. It's not a video anymore. It's in real life. It is happening in real life. You're seeing this this pandemic of a virus take place and spread. And now they're saying that it obviously, it can be spread from person to person. I live in Wisconsin, and I guess they tested 14 people in Madison, which is only about 30 minutes away from where I live. And, there was one person in Madison that had it, and I think the other 14 or 13 came back negative. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing because you're in it. You know what I mean? Like, you're in this moment, you're in this time now, like it's here. You know what I mean? Like, there's no hiding from it. You watched a video on it and you're like, holy moly, like this is actually what's happening in real life. Like, in real life, we're seeing a pandemic, a problem. In real life, it's happening. It's not just on this video anymore. Like, now it's actually happening in real life, in a real life situation. And there isn't enough like hospitals and staff in Wuhan. I know they just built one or whatever in like a week, which is pretty impressive. But it's like it's like it might take a year for them to come up with a vaccine, a vaccination, and so I don't know, man. It's a scary video to watch, but what's even scarier is to know that in real life it's happening. Me personally, I'm not afraid of the coronavirus. I mean, that's just me personally. So fuck you, coronavirus. You can kiss my ass. But the elderly and the real young are susceptible to it. I mean, of course, I'm 30, you know what I mean? Being a middle-aged man, sure, I'm susceptible to it, but fuck the coronavirus, you know what I mean? That's what I say. Fuck that bullshit. But that's what I got for you today. This has been Nate and Friends, and I'll catch all of y'all on the next one. Later.